Namaskar. Good morning, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, students and scholars, teachers and trainers, professors and professionals, those who are listening, watching from the field of science, arts, commerce and engineering, the most honorable President Prime Minister Modi ji, respected ministers and doctors, honorable advocates, advertisers, administrators and advisors, reverend fathers and mothers, dear friends, you are listening. I, Dr. Rakesh from USA, heartily, cordially welcome all of you. It is nice time, nice place, nice action. As all of you know that today is Baba Bhimrao Ambedkar Jayanti is being celebrated all over the world. With full of encouragement, excitement, a महान शख्सियत जिन्होंने पूरा जीवन मनुष्यता के लिए समर्पित किया, दलित, मजदूर, the needy, downtrodden, rejected people of our society, जिनके महान त्याग, बलिदान और समर्पण की भावना का आज पूरा देश, पूरा विश्व ऋणी है, जिसका अभिप्राय ये है कि हमें उनके आदर्शों पे चलना चाहिए, उनके निर्देशों पे चलना चाहिए और हमें आज के दिन ये संकल्प लेना चाहिए कि हमें अपने कर्तव्यों के प्रति कर्तव्यनिष्ठ बनना, ईमानदार होना और अपनी मातृभूमि के लिए मर मिटने के लिए, आन बान शान के लिए, तिरंगे की रक्षा के लिए तन मन धन से समर्पित होना, ये ऐसे महान लक्ष्य, महान कर्तव्य जो समाज के जनमानस के लिए जरूरी है ही, जबकि जो हमारे उच्च स्तरीय कार्यकर्ता हैं उनके लिए भी जरूरी है। Information and communication technology. Information technology in its fully convergent form, encompassing various modes of information delivery such as printed media, radio and television, computer and internet into one integrated environment provides an unique opportunity to touch the lives of everyone, overcoming earlier divisions. India's capabilities in the field of information technology to participate vigorously and effectively in a globalizing world, but also to use it as a major vehicle for all-round socio-economic development of the country. To ensure the benefits of an IT-based knowledge economy, India needs to adopt the two-fold strategies. One is a number of steps to ensure that The Indian IT industry grows at a fast pace in conjunction with international trends, and two is to intend to take all possible measures to ensure that the benefits of its technology are meaningfully felt by the common people and reach to even in the remotest parts of the country. It is strong belief that information technology to be successful must be pro people and pro development, which can happen only if it reaches out to the masses in rural areas and if its use in local languages is promoted. The government had set off the target of IT for all by 2008, whose centerpiece is a major national campaign, Operation Knowledge, focusing on universalizing IT and IT based education at all levels of the education pyramid. Evolution of communication. Man from the very beginning has tried to convey messages over long distances. Invention of telegraphy by Samuel Morse that was based on principle of relay was the first success in this direction. Effort was then made to invent an electrical system that could transmit speech signals over copper wires, and this was realized by invention of telephone by Alexander Graham Bell. With the introduction of cordless phones, STD, subscriber trunk dialing, ISD, international subscriber dialing facilities, and the setting of electronic exchanges, telephone communication has today grown into a big industry. The transmission of audio, the transmission of audio and audiovisual signals became possible with the invention of radio by Marconi and television by John Baird. The need of communication during World War I, 1914 to 18, triggered off considerable interest in the field of radio engineering. However, public broadcasting became popular only after the war. In India, commercial broadcasting started in 1926 as a private corporation, and the All India Radio was set up in 1931. Commercial TV broadcasting started in 1950s, and the color TV was introduced in 1960s in India. However, color TV technology reached home only in 1982. Today, cable TV is also available. In many situations, conventional telephone system cannot be used for communication. This led to the necessity of mobile communication. The interfacing of mobile communication system with the public telephone network led to the realization of cellular phone and radio paging. The medium through which communication takes place is called communication channel. This may consist either a pair of copper wires, coaxial cables, microwave link, or optical fiber. Signal processing wide bandwidths cannot be transmitted using a pair of copper wires. For such signals, coaxial cables are used. Very high frequency signals, for example TV and multiplexed speech signals, are sent through microwave links. Communication Communications are also possible using geostationary satellites. Communication using hair thin structure called optical fibers is a recent addition to telecommunication. The latest entry into communication field is the world's fastest and largest computer network called Internet. Telecommunication. India operates one of the largest telecom networks in Asia, comprising over 31,328 telephone exchanges with a capacity of 151.6 lakh lines and 526.1 lakh working connections as on 30 September 2004. According to the National Telecom Policy (NTP), one village public telephone (VPT) in every village in the country is to be provided. This target has now been revised to be completed in the 9th plan. This task has to be completed by both the DOT as well as the licensed private operating companies. With the deregulation of the economy, the entire telecom equipment manufacturing industry has been de-licensed and de-reserved. Automatic approval of foreign equity up to 51% has been allowed for foreign investors engaged in the manufacture of all telecommunication equipment. In the area of value added services such as radio pagings, mobile radio trunking service, cellular mobile telephone, email, voicemail or audio text, video text, domestic data service using VSAT, video conferencing and credit card authorization have been opened to the private sector. A number of private operators have since started these operations. Internet services have been provided in the country by DOT and VSNL. This network provides an opportunity for electronic commerce and exchange of valuable information with the rest of the world in the field of education, research and business. The public data network INET has been expanded to 25 cities out of a total of 89 cities planned for the INET. Service is available as well from any STD telephone anywhere in the country. A high-speed satellite network called HVNet has started operating with provides 64 kbps data and voice communication capability from any point in the country. This will ease the problem of remote area communication. Integrated services, digital network, ISDN services which offer high-speed data transfer, desktop video conferencing, high-speed fax and picture phone facilities have been started in 9 cities and will be gradually extended to other parts of the country. Other advanced services like intelligent network, high-speed VSAT network, HVNet and INSAT based mobile telephone service are under implementation. The government has decided to set up a statutory telecom regulatory authority of India, TRAI, to separate the regulatory function from policy formulation and operational functions. It will protect the interests of consumers, regulate telecom traffics, settle disputes between service providers, ensure compliance of license conditions, bring about technical capability, and interconnections are arranged amongst services providers in respect of sharing of revenue. Levy fees facilitate competition, provide efficiency, provide a level and private operators, and to give further content to universal service obligation. Internet. Internet is an inter-networked system of computers that allow free flow of information from one part of the network to any other, provided the information is packaged according to certain conventions. It has no headquarters, no central management, no blueprint for future, no one to run it, and charges no fee. Genesis. In the days of Cold War era, the US asked the Military Lab Advanced Research Projects Agency ARPA to establish a large computer network that had no controlling center. The Pentagon, US military headquarters, feared that in the event of a nuclear attack on the centrally managed network, all would be destroyed, and thus was born the ARPANET in 1969. It used the packet switching technology, which splits messages into tiny pieces and sent them through different telephone routes to the destination, where they would automatically join together. It had a major advantage. If someone tried to intercept a message, he would get only useless bit of it. Packet switching was responsible for the success of email, which evolved into the internet as the ARPANET linked thousands of computer networks in universities and corporations. At present, the internet has over 30 million subscribers spread over 1260 countries. The internet, however, was an intimidating arena till now. Its gates were open only to those who had mastered computer commands. With the introduction of World Wide Web in 1989, there is no need to master the computer command. www allows point and click navigation. On the web, anyone can create a home page which millions of users can watch on their computers and respond. www is proving to be the best tool for global reach due to the following reasons. One is instant access. Information presented at the website can be retrieved immediately from anywhere in the world. Two is multimedia enabled user interface. Display text, graphics, audio and video contents to the visitors at the web. Three is built hypertext capability, conveniently link related information. Four is interactivity. Exchange ideas and comments with visitors to your site, receive orders from your customers, provide advanced search tools, etc. 5 is very low cost. Web presented cost is very low. Easy migration from current media. Existing literature may be quickly converted into a format suitable for web publishing. New technologies advancement continue to enhance the offerings of the web. New developments like Java will only make this a stronger business or advertising media. Uses. Marketing in a global village is now a reality due to internet. Few years back, the internet was not considered a potential tool for trade and commerce. It was just a medium for exchange of academic information and was used mostly by academicians. Today, all sorts of transactions and business deals are being conducted on net, and the reasons as why business of internet is increasing at a frenetic frantic piece are low cost of being on the net, virtually low cost of transaction, the availability of technologies that would make it easier for net users to shop on the net, and security on the net. Some of the other major areas where net is finding great use are banking. Online banking are being set up to servicing. Online banks are being set up to service clients through the net. A wide range of services are now being offered through the net: deposits, launch, transfer of funds, etc. Many other financial services are being offered online by companies. Retailing net sites act as single window for virtual shop and offer gateways to the websites of scores of other shops. With electronic payments becoming secure, customers will be able to complete entire retailing transactions on the net to their satisfaction. Publishing Publishing business is thriving on the net. Publishers are using the net to serve the portion of the magazine to individual customers. A customer, according to his taste or interest, can choose the area of publication for his utilization. Travel Online travel agencies are able to provide the latest and updated data on flight timings, hotel vacancies, reservations in train, etc., to the homes of their customers, and thereby enabling the customers to perform all the transactions on the net. Internet in India. In India, internet connectivity comes through Wide Sanchar Nigam Limited (VSNL). It offers two types of services for internet users. One is shell account, in which one can have only text or access and cannot download graphics. It costs rupees 5,000 for 250 hours or 1 year. Second is TCP or IP account, in which one can have access to graphics as well. It is more efficient and therefore more expensive, rupees 25,000 for 250 hours for corporate users and rupees 15,000 for 250 hours for individual users. Government regulatory agencies, internet content providers, individuals and organizations who fill up the net with its content, and users make up the three key players in the internet. A debate on what regulatory agencies should or should not do to impose restrictions on the access and use of internet is just beginning to take shape in India. The nature of the underlying technology does not lend the internet to traditional forms of censorship, but laws that prompt self-regulations among content providers and special software for individual users to restrict access to certain internet sites might offer a solution to those who are concerned that children might have unrestricted access to indecent material intended for adults. Computer. A computer is an electronic device that can store and process data on a set of applications called program. It has many advantages such as speed, accuracy, and capacity to store a large amount of work. Computers are extremely and are much faster than humans. If working of humans if working of humans would be compared to the working of a computer, then it would be almost 1 billion humans working for computers. Being fast, they are accurate. If the right input is given to the computer, the output will be accurate. We human beings have a tendency to get tired after doing some amount of. Computers are everywhere in the new millennium. A work of people used for various business activities like transaction with suppliers, customers and employees. Using word processing program, people can create business letters, brochures, newsletters, etc. etc. There are millions of sites that can be seen in the on the computer. This service is called as computerized reservation service. If a person wants to travel from New Delhi to London, then he or she has to fill a slip giving the details of his name, his passport number, his destination, etc. These customer details are the input. Then the input feed into the computer asking for the details so that the person can book the ticket. This is processing. As a result of this processing, the person gets his reservation for the flight or is unable to get the reservation. This is the output. Similarly, in the banks are going in for ATMs and internet banking. Does anyone know anything about it? But what is this ATM? It is anytime money system which is done by the help of computers. The user provides the details to the ATM. The computer checks for the details and the computer dispenses the money and charges the withdrawal from your account. Hence, a computer is a machine that performs arithmetic and logical operations. It can also remember that it can also remember what it has done. Various parts of computer, input or output. Input and output devices allow you and the computer to communicate. The keyboard and the mouse are input devices, and printer and monitor are output devices. CPU, the central processing unit, is the workspace or the brain of the computer. It handles all of the decoding and execution of instructions you send to the computer. It also controls the computer memory, the flow of data through the computer, and the arithmetic and logical functions. Storage, disk and disk drives allow you to store data so that you can use it later. The disk drive is the part that writes information to the disk so that it is permanent. Drives, disk drives are named with letters of alphabet. The written names are followed by a colon. The floppy disk drive is usually drive A and drive B may be present on some computers. The hard disk is drive C. The CD-ROM drive usually D, but sometimes E is used in multimedia such as music, presentations, games, libraries and encyclopedias, installing and or running software. You cannot save information to your CD unless you have purchased a rewritable CD drive. Often you may have a zip disk called a removable disk that may use the D or E drive. A mouse is the input device primarily used in Windows. The mouse is represented by a pointer arrow on your monitor. Most mouse have two buttons. The left button has four basic features: selecting objects, clicking, double clicking, and press and drag. Keyboard. A computer keyboard looks much like a typewriter keyboard, except that it has extra keys. Practice lightly touching the keys instead of pressing or hitting the keys. Some of the keys are repeating keys and one pressed. And when pressed, will repeat the same action over and over. Memory. Memory is where the work is done and where information is stored. The computer itself has two types of memory, RAM and ROM. RAM, random access memory, is the working memory that is supplied by electrical currents going through computer chips. Information changes as you edit and enter data. RAM is temporary memory. When you turn off the machine, your information is no longer in memory. You must store the contents of RAM to a disk in order to save it. ROM, read-only memory. It's contained in the hardware itself. It is permanent. ROM is the part of memory that is built in at the factory and it is always available. Arithmetic functions are stored in ROM. The procedure to initially start up your computer is contained in ROM. Floppy disk. Floppy disks are a common form of storage that is portable. You will often use floppies so that you can work on projects both at home and on campus. Protective jacket. The disk is enclosed inside the square plastic protective jacket. The disk itself is actually round. The protective jacket should never be removed from the disk. Read or write window. The read or write window is the oblong area at the bottom of the disk. As the disk revolves in the disk drive, the special heads in the disk drive cord the magnetic surface of the disk with data. Timing hole. The timing hole in conjunction with the centering hole are used to assure that the disk is positioned properly in the disk drive. Centering hole. The centering hole, in addition to working with the timing hole, is where the motor spindle fits storage the disk. Thank you, dear brothers and friends. I again congratulate all of you. Baba Bhimrao Ambedkar Jayanti today is being celebrated all over the world. So, such occasions teach us a lot of knowledgeable, informative, instructive, and directive footprints of life. How our India is growing with the modern technology in information, revolution in information technology. Computer systems use disk drives to read information from or to store information. There are several types of disk drives: hard disk, floppy disk, removable disk, and CD-ROMs. Disks are used to store programs and data. Data is read from the disk into the computer's RAM memory. As you need more information, it is retrieved from the disk. Whether you are using a floppy disk or a hard disk, data is stored on the disk and retrieved in exactly the same way. Hard disk drives may be built into your machine or they may be external. Built-in hard disks are not removable. Hard disks can store much more information than floppy disks. They are faster than floppies, but they are also more expensive. Floppy disks are small disks of Miller containing magnetized particles, all covered by protective jacket. You insert these disks into disk drives. Your system will usually have one floppy disk drive. The current standard size for a floppy disk is 3.5 inches. Some older computer systems may also have a 5 inches drive. Storage capacity is affected by the density or how close together the data is stored. The standard double-sided high density disk can maintain about 1440 kbytes of information. Basics of internet and emailing. The internet is a vast network of computers all over the world. In fact, the internet is actually a collection of smaller networks called local area networks or lanes. Lanes connect computers across a very small geographical regions, usually not more than a few kilometers wide. A network within a university would be a good example. In a lane, all computers have access to a common channel of communication, usually a set of wires or a cable. Any computer that wishes to communicate with some other computer uses the common cable. The main communication channel itself is independent of the computers that use it. This ensures that even if some computers malfunction, the rest of the lane continues to operate. This also ensures that the speed of the lane does not depend on the speeds of individual computers. Traditional lanes have all speeds of 10 to 100 megabytes per second or Mbps. Newer lanes are capable of speeds of hundreds of Mbps. The internet is somewhat similar to a lane in the sense that it, is, it too is just a common communication channel independent of the communicating computers. But in addition to using simple cables, communication is carried out over conventional communication media like telephone networks and satellites. Another difference between a lane and the internet that the internet uses special computers called as routers to direct the flow of information through its elaborate network. Because a lane is very limited in size, there is no real need to have computers just for directing the flow of information. A larger network like the internet must have a mechanism that can help information weave its way through multiple paths to the right address to send information to its destination using the most suitable paths. Routers use complex routing schemes called routing algorithms. Another very important role played by routers is the integration of different lanes. Different lanes can have different technologies because any lane is designed bearing in mind its particular usage. Two lanes might serve entirely different purposes and therefore might use different technologies. This would make the two incompatible with technology that permits them to enable diverse lanes to communicate with each other intelligently. The term internet is derived from the more general term internetwork. To differentiate between the two, let us state that while an internetwork is a theoretical concept referring to a vast network of computers, the internet is its practical application, a vast network that exists in our times to link strategic organizations and private individuals all over the world. Let us introduce another important concept here. Till now we have said that internet is a collection of lanes. So how would computers that are at a substantial distance from the lane cannot be the internet? The most popular way a distant or remote computer is connected to a lane is by the use of conventional telephone lines. The distant computer connects to the telephone network using a special device called a modem. There must be a modem connected to the remote computer as well as to the lane. The modem is required for a special reason. The reason is that telephone lines do not transmit information in the format used by the computer. Telephone lines have their own format to transmit any information. So a device is needed which can translate between the format as understood by the telephone lines. Such a device is the modem. When a remote computer communicates with a lane, the modem attached to the remote computer modulates the signal or prepares it for transmission over phone lines. The modem attached to the lane demodulates the signal received from the phone lines or extracts the information sent by the computer and passes it on to the lane in a form which is intelligible to the lane. However, when the lane transmits some information to the distant computer, the modem attached to the lane now modulates, while the modem with the computer now demodulates. Modems at both the ends are capable of both modulation and demodulation, and thus two-way communication is possible. In fact, the term modem is short for modulator, demodulator. Lately, the use of optical modems is also gaining prominence. Optical modems convert signals from a computer into pulses of light, which may then be transmitted across optical fibers over long distances. Similar optical modems at the other end reconvert the light signals into the format intelligible to the computer there. Thus, using modems, computers that are not in the proximity of the lane may be effectively connected to it. Hence, because they can connect to lane, computers may connect to the internet if the lane itself is connected to one of the internet's routers. Network protocol. In saying that the internet is a collection of multiple computers, we have not yet mentioned anything about the communication medium or the language used by computers to communicate with each other. Computers speak in the language of electrical pulses, therefore, for communication, computers must use the same language or the same set of electrical pulses must convey the same meaning. So, computers that do not use the same language cannot communicate. Therefore, there has to be common medium of communication before we can connect multiple computers. This concept of common medium is fundamental to the internet and in fact to any network. To put it, to put it formally, all computers on the network must format or arrange information in a standard way to communicate over the network. This is analogous to two people deciding to use a common language which they both understand to talk to each other. In addition, since multiple computers are using the same channel, there are chances that there might be a conflict between computers wanting to use the channel at the same time. There has to be an arbitration mechanism to resolve any such conflicts. Such rules and conventions that specify a common communication medium and serve as an arbitration mechanism are collectively called a protocol. A protocol is in the form of software that is resident inside every computer that uses the network. The use of common protocol is a fundamental principle of networking. It has to be borne in mind at all times when networks are being discussed because computers simply cannot communicate if they do not use a common protocol. Because the internet is also a network, it too needs a protocol. The internet has a standard global protocol called the TCP or IP or the Transfer Control Protocol or Internet Protocol. Any computer that wants to use the internet must follow the rules of TCP or IP. As long as it has a copy of TCP or IP, it may use the internet. By having a copy, we mean that special TCP or IP software should be resident inside every computer on the internet. It must be stated here that computers on a lane can use any particular protocol to communicate over the lane and the lane need not use TCP or IP. But if these computers are to connect to the internet, they must, in addition to their lane protocol, agree with TCP or IP. TCP or IP has two components, TCP and IP. IP or the Internet Protocol specifies the exact format to the used to exchange information. In simple terms, IP tells the language computers must speak if they wish to speak to each other over the internet. Since a vast amount of information flow across the internet at any time, there can be loss of information or it might not reach the destination in the form of as want sent. To rectify such errors, the internet uses the transfer control protocol or TCP. To give an example, the TCP software inside a computer keeps track of whether the information sent reached the destination or not. If the information does not reach the destination, then the TCP software decides to retransmit it. IP address, unique internet addresses for computers. Another related concept is that of IP addresses. Each computer assigned to the internet must be assigned a unique address. Only then would it be possible for some other computers to send information to it. This is analogous to a person having a unique phone number. On the internet, such addresses are called IP address. IP Internet Protocol. All networks use numeric values for such purposes, and the internet also supports this convention. Any information sent over the internet must have the address of both the sender and the recipient. All computers, including routers, need IP addresses. IP addresses give information like the common network to which a computer might belong. All computers on the same network have a common component in the address. IP addresses need not be permanent for machines that are not always connected to the internet. A machine that occasionally connects to the internet is usually allotted a temporary IP address, but machines like routers that are an integral part of the internet must have permanent IP addresses. IP addresses usually take a form like 202.54.15.1. However, since numbers are hard to remember, the internet or regulatory authorities that govern its use permits the use of alphabetic names to identify computers. Of course, there must be a unique name for every computer connected to the internet. Such names are called domain names. Domain names are converted to IP addresses by the use of special software called the domain name system (DNS). Domain names take forms like www.microsoft.com. Here www is the local name of the computer. Microsoft is the name of the company that owns it. Com indicates that the organization Microsoft is a commercial establishment. Another name could be www.cs.york.ac.uk. Here the local name www is extended using CS because the name www might be in use by other computers within the same organization. York is the name of the organization and it is an academic organization as indicated by the AC in the name. The final suffix UK means that this computer is in the United Kingdom. In fact, this is the address of the computer of the Department of Computer Science at the University of York, UK, and it acts as an information server for users who wish to know something about the Computer Science Department of York. The C's comes from computer science. Computers outside the United States usually need a country suffix. For instance, a computer in India would have an in suffix at the end. There are several such naming conventions that internet users become familiar with as they use the internet, but it is a good idea to explore the meaning of domain names as and when one comes across such a name. Client server model. Till now, we have focused on the internet as a medium that permits the flow of information, but once this information reaches the destination, the computer at the other end must do something with it. Technically speaking, it is not the computer itself, but the software residing in it that must do something with the information it receives. In fact, information flows across the internet because the programs resident on a particular computer requests it from the program resident on the computer that contains this information. So it is fair to say that communication across the internet is actually between programs. But why should programs communicate? A program communicates with another program when it needs a service from the second program. Consider the example of a train ticket reservation program running on the computer of the train reservation counter to find the status of ticket availability. The reservation program sends a message to another computer that maintains a database of seats available. The second program will tell the first program the exact number of seats available. The first program will then be able to issue a ticket or deny a ticket. This sort of distributed computing enhances efficiency. In our case, we need only one computer to be powerful enough to maintain the vast database of seat availability. The ticket issuing computers can be less powerful and cheaper machines. There are several other benefits that distributed computing offers, but that is not the focus of our discussion. Coming back to our model, programs that require a service from other programs are called clients. Programs that render the required service are called servers. The and a model that operates using clients and servers is called a client server model. The justification for having clients and server is that the computer running the client might not be equipped to handle a particular requirement and thus must seek a service from the computer that runs the server. In information usage, the terms server and client are also used for computers that run either kind of software. So a machine that is dedicated to running server programs might also be called a server, while a machine that is requesting a service may also be called a client. Most networks, even the smallest lanes, may have dedicated servers, that is computers that run server programs for rest of the computers on the network. The term dedicated here means that the computer is dedicated to running server application and would not usually be used for ordinary computing work. Server computers are usually large and powerful computers and must always be running, unlike clients computers. Large computers permit multiple server programs to run simultaneously. If a server computer stops functioning due to any reason, the client computers receive an error message. The internet provides us with several diverse kinds of services. The thread of commonality between internet service is that they use a client server model. This means that the internet unites clients and servers all across the world. Clients request servers for information in several forms. For instance, a client in India might ask a server in the United States for some information about the American president. Of course, there needs to be a special server in the United States that has information of this kind. In our section on IP addresses, we had said that computers are allowed to have names as long as there is a software called a domain name system to translate domain names into IP addresses. Domain name system is actually a server application since it provides a service because it is a service, because it is a server provides a service, because it is a server application. DNS may also stand for domain name server. Any organization that has multiple connected computers and uses names for its computers must have a domain name server running on a dedicated computers that is connected to the rest of the computers. Services rendered over the internet. So we have in the form of the internet an elaborate communication network that uses a common and reliable communication medium in the form of TCP or IP. Clients and servers use this network to communicate. All this is done to render some services to the end user. We, the people, there are several diverse services offered through the internet. We will look at only a few of the most popular ones that a common non-technical user is likely to use. Electronic mail. Electronic mail is one of the most widely used services on the internet. It permits users to send short text messages to other users across the internet. Senders may attach other text documents and non-text objects like pictures or sound clips to the text message by attaching. We refer to a procedure where the attachments do not comprise a part of the main body of the email. Rather, they travel along with the mail to the same destination as the email itself. A list of attachments that accompany an email is usually displayed when the recipient reads his email. Email is possible because of communication between a client and a server. The sender first composes the mail using special programs. Such programs let the users format text in different ways and make attachments. The sender then uses the email client program on his computers to send the message across the internet using the TCP. The server program on the recipient's computer accepts the message and transfers it to the recipient's computer accepts electronic mailbox. Since the program on the recipient's machine is doing a service to the sender's email program by transferring the message to the correct mailbox, it qualifies as a server, and the sender's email program qualifies as a server, and the sender's email program qualifies as a client. The recipient's mailbox is in the form of disk storage space on the recipient's computer. The recipient can access this storage space and retrieve his emails. Usually, several recipients would have mailboxes on the computer that runs the email server. So no single recipient has an access to the main server computer. Instead, different recipients use their individual computers to access the main server. The recipients copy all emails from their mailboxes on the server computer to their personal computers. To ensure that each user or recipient is able to access only his mailbox, the server might have a provision for users to access their mailboxes by using a unique identification system like a password. To address an email to a particular recipient, the sender must supply the name of the recipient's mailbox to his email client. Mailbox addresses usually take the form narendra@mail.xyz.com. This address means that the mail should be sent to the mailbox of the recipient identified by the name Narendra on the computer identified by the domain name mail.xyz.com. The symbol separates the names of the user from the name of the computer. This is a well accepted convention. It is the job of the server to remember what part of the server computer's disk storage space is reserved for the user Narendra. The email services may basically either be web-based or POP or IMAP type. In the former case, one has to be connected to the server computer for reading or writing the email, while in the later, the mail is not directly sent or received, but it is stored temporarily in the user's computer, and the mail is read or written when the computer is disconnected to the server. It is therefore obvious that the POP or the IMAP accounts need brief periods of connection to the server, during which the letters are sent and received. The web-based accounts need a longer period of connection, as writing and sending as well as receiving and reading are done while connected to the server. The protocol that enables a user to receive the mail meant for him is called POP, Post Office Protocol. The protocol for receiving the mail is SMTP, Sent Mail Transfer Protocol. World Wide Web. It is the World Wide Web, www, which has really brought internet to ordinary people and has, in a true sense, brought about an internet revolution. In common usage, the terms World Wide Web and internet are sometimes used synonymously, but this is not accurate. Internet is the hardware and associated software that is able to connect computers across the globe. World Wide Web, on the other hand, is simply a vast collection of information bearing documents resident on the computers connected by the internet. By documents, we are referring to a collection of text and visual images. A web document about a person can have a short paragraph about him and his hobbies and interests. The paragraph may be accompanied by the person's photograph alongside. The documents on the web, a popular short name for the World Wide Web, might contain important information about any topic of interest like history, geography, politics, music, art, culture, and more. Documents on the web are popularly called web pages, and individuals who create them are called web authors. It is very important to remember that all such documents have to be stored on a special server computers across the internet. These computers are special in the sense that they run several server programs are dedicated to use by the web and have to be running at all times. These are usually very powerful and versatile machines. We have said that the web documents are composed of simple text and images, but there is an additional feature of the web documents that make the web very versatile. In any web document, the document author can convert ordinary text or picture into links to other documents or objects like pictures, sounds, animations, etc. For example, there might be a web page on a new car that might have a phrase like the car is Euro 2 compatible. The term Euro 2 might not make sense to all readers. So the author might decide to convert Euro 2 into a link to another document somewhere else on the internet that describes the term Euro 2. Once Euro 2 is converted into a link, it will look slightly different from the rest of the text in that it might be underlined and be of a different color. To use this link, the reader will have to select Euro 2 with his mouse by pointing at it and selecting it. Any part of a web page, text or picture can be converted into a link. Text of this nature that creatively link to other documents and objects is called hypertext. The simple point and click technique used in hypertext makes it the chosen standard for the web. To be able to read the hypertext documents, users need to have special client software called browsers installed in their computers. Browsers copy the hypertext document from the source computer to the user's computer and display the text and pictures in more or less the same way as web intended by the web author. Browsers help users browse through the pages on the web and thus get their name. Browsers are equipped to display standard text and simple images. A browser cannot interpret complex information in the form of animation or recorded sound, that is too incapable to enable to browsers to present non-standard objects. Special programs called plugins. Plugins are included with the browsers. Plugins are capable of presenting diverse kinds of video and audio objects. To access a web page using a browser, the user needs to supply the universal resource locator URL of the web page. The URL of the web page gives the browser the domain name of the remote computer that contains that document plus the name of the document itself. The remote computer would obviously have to be server because it is providing a service to the client by sending it to the requested document. The server computers that store web pages must have a copy of the hypertext transfer protocol, a special protocol that governs the transfer of the hypertext. Because of these considerations, a URL usually looks like by supplying this URL to the browser, the user is telling the browser to get a copy of my page from the server computer called www.anything.com using the HTTP protocol. In fact, when any web page is selected, it is actually copied from the source computer to the client machine and then displayed by the client machine. Conventionally, organizations decide to call those computers that are connected to the web and run server programs with names that begin with www. This is not a fixed rule but a popular convention. Having understood the concept of hypertext and URL, we can understand how links actually work. Every link is associated with a URL. When the user selects that link, his browser is automatically redirected to the URL associated with the link. All this work is carried on behind the scenes and the user need never know how the browser is being redirected by the link in our new car example earlier.